All right, we're live. Well, it is great to be in front of everybody, and I hope you're having a great day. What are we? Wednesday. All right. And we're starting to get into spring break season. So maybe I'll ask in the chat if anybody's going anywhere fun for spring break. I was just hearing from Beth that she is off to Florida for a work/vacation. But today, this is a fun one. We're going to keep it super informal and also quick. Hopefully, we will keep it to a half an hour so you can get back to your day job. What we're going to talk about is what is this Do It For Me program really like? And I'm Susan Theder. For those of you that don't know me, I'm the Chief Marketing Officer at FMG. And I am joined by a good friend and dear customer, Beth Blecker. And you will hear a lot from Beth. So I'm going to skip over so that we can get into our presentation. Two quick slides I wanted to share first before we get into our discussion is just to validate the importance of really the philosophy behind the Do It For Me program. These are slides, these are graphs from a Y chart study, which actually I will just tease is in another couple weeks releasing their 2023 version of this data. So we'll be doing a webinar discussing this, but it's all about the communications, the importance of communications as it relates to your customers and your business. Just on the left, at a high level, the blue is the important number, which basically is almost all of your customers consider your frequency and style of communication when deciding to retain you and stay with you, as well as to recommend you to a friend or family member. Shockingly, on the right side, about half of your customers, and I've broken it out by those that are over 560 just to get some cuts, but basically half of your customers wish you were communicating more. And to further, I guess, reinforce this and talk about the types of communications that matter, people are looking to be educated about financial planning topics, about estate planning, about tax optimization, about changing regulations. And in a survey by eMoney, 63% believe that it's the content that makes an advisor stand out. And across the board from millennials all the way up, but really when you look at millennials, and I should show you what, those that are younger say it's even more so, they're very interested in being educated. So with that, I'm going to stop sharing and I'm going to introduce the star of the show, Beth. Beth, you are one of our, dear customers. You're on our Do It For Me advisory board. I would love you just to provide an introduction of you, your practice, and we'll start with, how did you come to be a DIFM customer?
Okay, so you know my name. I'm Beth Blecker. The name of my firm is Eastern Planning, Inc. And I have been in business for 27 years. Oh my.
Wow. And you don't look at, you could
Of
be
course
5
not.
years, of course,
And,
right?
and I don't know, even
You
look
both
like
just graduated.
that I was an accountant prior to that, right? But I am very fortunate because I have a partner, a very, very talented and smart partner who happens to be my son. So Eastern Planning is made up of Beth and Matthew Blecker, and it works out perfectly. And I am a financial advisor. My son is an investment. He's a chartered financial analyst. He's the investment person in our firm, but I'm also the one that's in charge of running the firm, growing the firm, marketing the firm. Mm-hmm. And for a while, I then hired a person who was going to be my marketing assistant, who moved up to be my marketing director, as did her salary, which kept moving up and moving up and moving up. And I'm in New York, so that can tell a tale itself. And I wasn't happy with what she was doing at all.
Did you have to provide a lot of direction? It wasn't even saving.
I had to keep providing a lot of direction, and also I hate writing. Writing is not my forte, and so I couldn't get all that stuff you said is so important to our clients. I couldn't get all that stuff, so I was getting horse's mouth, and I was part of all these other places trying to gather information so that I could use stuff. And one day I went to a conference and there was Susan Theder sitting in front of me, whom I knew from her past life. And she said, oh, this is what FMG is starting to do. And so I said, well, you better connect me and tell me about it. And so I became part of Do It For Me Marketing. And I also moved my website to FMG, because when your website is connected to Do It For Me Marketing, everything goes everywhere. It's just like amazing.
Yeah.
And I have been, and of course I then, very hard for me, but I fired my marketing director. And now I'm spending a lot less. I have somebody, an outsourced person who helps me with the marketing, but with her and Do It For Me Marketing, I now get to go to Florida more often.
That is awesome. So for those that are listening in, what do you get with Do It For Me Marketing? How would you describe it to an advisor who said, what exactly is it?
Okay, so what I get, well, first of all, I get a person who I speak to at the end of every month, towards the end of every month, because I get a email and a chart from Susan, which lays out all this content, social media content, blog content, letter content, tons of content. and also there's past content, which I can pull up. But I have a person who once a month, we sit down and we go over the content. I do it with my one other person who's my outsourcing person, and we go over and we decide what's good for Eastern planning. And we pick out the things that we're going to use, and then they do it for me. Now, the one thing that I do for myself, other than also help pick out the content, is my other person, my outsourced person, she personalizes all the social media. So when you look at my social media, you don't always realize that it is all, well, not all, it is the Do It For Me marketing. And that gives us the ability to also take some fun things that makes us a little different and put that on, because all the smart stuff we get for Do It For Me marketing.
That is about as well as I could describe it. I'm trying to pull up our calendars so that I could share it, just so people can see what that looks like.
It's so helpful.
So every month what we do, is that showing?
Yes. But
So
the calendar is great, but also go down to the content page, because that's where I work from.
Exactly. So every month we email out a calendar that maps out how we see the content cascading, and it's 2 blogs. Those blogs are then versioned for emails written for clients, prospects, and centers of influence. So we modify the content so that it works for those audiences. And then social posts that range probably like 20 different social posts. So we map out where we think it works on a calendar, but then we also show it in this list form. And a lot of advisors print this out. I don't know how you do your edits, Beth, but people just print this and just like scratch all over it. Like, yes, that one, want to customize that one, scratch this one. I'm going to also add this one. So they're taking it, but like Beth talked about, they're also making it their own. And you'll see there's blogs, emails, social posts that we recommend. And then we also have optional, things like, actually, this typical memory loss is normal was an optional one. And that got, I don't know if you used that, Beth, the advisors that used that got great engagement.
We did use that one, and we did get response from that. Yes. The memory loss was excellent. Yep.
Yeah. So talk about even just looking at this calendar. So you went through this, and what was your, tell us how you worked with your specialist to bring this to life.
So what we do is, if you open up the American Heart Awareness Month, right? And you look at it, and
does it show?
It didn't open.
Didn't open.
It may have opened on another. You might have to actually share a different screen. Yeah. Okay. So you see where it says February is American Heart Month.
Yeah.
Now, everybody who's going to pick this gets that.
Yeah.
So what I would do is, we're going to go on Adobe Stock, because that is one other thing that I pay for. And my person is going to pick a completely different picture. and or take a picture. If it's something to do with us, take a picture in the office and put
That's
that
even
picture
better.
on. And then we'll click some of the emojis to
Yep.
make it a little different, but we've completely used that thing.
And that is the best way to work with the program. So we also have an integration with Canva, and some advisors are just within the platform pulling up Canva and, you know, searching. But
My person does Canva sometimes too. Yeah.
the best thing is with our social posts, you choose the ones that you want to use, and then we're actually providing some suggestions too of ways you can personalize it. And when you add your own picture, that's brilliant. So actually, let me see. I'm going to ask you a question while you're answering. I'm going to try to pull up some examples. Let's see. So I think you've been in the program about a year. Can you talk about feedback you've gotten from clients? Any, you know, if an advisor's like, how do you know it's working? What would you answer?
So I will say, as far as social media goes, I know that my clients are looking because they're connected to the ones that are connected to me. I see them looking and commenting. So I see them commenting. I will say that what I have noticed is I'm getting much more views on my LinkedIn and Facebook now. And I'm sharing my Facebook up to Instagram. So I'm getting much more views. I'm not going to tell you that people are falling off the hook from social media. But what I will tell you is my clients, my practice is pretty much 90% of my growth comes from client referrals. But I will guarantee you that of the 90% of client referrals that call my office, 90% of them have been on my social media, have been on my website, and are looking at that. So just because a client says, call Beth, I love them, sometimes that happens, but they look. So if
Still check.
If my website was boring and old and I wasn't changing and putting all these blogs on and all this information on, I don't know if they would call me.
Absolutely.
So I feel that that's where it's helping me, not the actually, oh, that person called because they saw that social media post.
It's never attributable to I mean, I shouldn't say never. Rarely. It is the consistency. And I was just talking to Bob Veris. I don't know if you guys know him.
I do.
Thought leader with Joel Bruckenstein. And he's talked to so many advisors. And he said, you know, the common mistake is advisors try something for 2 months, 3 months, and then, like most of us, we get distracted and then we stop, and then we're like, it didn't work. And if you had a client that said, I'm going to try you for 3 months, and then if it hasn't worked, if I'm not up 20%, I'm out. You'd say that you have to look long-term. It's the same thing, but it's so hard to do long-term, which is why outsourcing to DIFM is so important.
And you never know what's going to hit, because I will tell you, there was it just this month or last month where you did the special needs?
Yeah, it's for March.
So I just did something with special needs, and I got a client to say, oh my God, you know, I knew you do a lot on special needs, but I just read your letter and I just referred it out to 2 of my friends because they are not doing what they need to do. Of course, this is how people talk. They're not doing what they need to do. So I had to tell them that they have to call you.
Yeah.
Now they referred out an email because of an email that I didn't write.
That was an email that we wrote about. We're doing a lot of content about
The Secure Act and
Secure Act 2.0 and the sunsetting of the Tax Cuts and Jobs Acts and all the various permutations and nuances of that. And special needs, the special needs trusts are treated differently under Secure Act 2.0. And we got just tons of good feedback. There's a question about if all advisors are using the same content, doesn't, you know, that just mean duplication, and is it really good? Now, there are only about 500 advisors across the country that are in Do It For Me. It is our most exclusive. But how would you answer that question? I mean,
so on the social media side, I've already answered it. I twisted a little. And on the letter side,
like emails, not letter, but
On the email, right? But there are letters in email.
Yeah, exactly. Because most people are sending it out through email because it's cheaper, but yeah.
On the email side,
Yeah.
we do tweak. We do. So I'm old.
Yeah.
So my assistant gets into AI a little, and she takes the email and she twists up the paragraphs and twists up some of the words. And also we put some of our own personal stuff in. It's easy to put some personal stuff in when
Exactly.
you
Get the whole
don't
draft.
have to do it all.
Start from scratch. Yeah, that is where we preach. I mean, I am such a believer in authenticity. First of all, we have heard from advisors, and I think you'd say the same, but they've said like it's shocking because the content is so good. It's like they're reading my mind and writing just the way I would. So that's what we aim for. But of course, you all have your unique voices and personalities. But what we believe we're delivering is this full, really robust content calendar that all you have to do is spend, or have your assistant spend a little bit of time tweaking versus starting from scratch. Every month you're given this full library of content that's strategically chosen for that month, that has, Financial Friday posts, as well as, Arbor Day, as well as, the whole range of types of content that people would recommend. That's an enormous amount of work. And then you just have to pick what you want and then edit it so that it's your own voice. Like, let's say, Silicon Valley Bank failed. Everybody wanted to get something out right away to put their clients at ease. It's a lot of work. And most, and then it's got to go through compliance and the whole bit. It's really, the story is not, it's hard to write that 10 different ways. I mean, if you looked at every advisor who sent out something, they're going to read pretty similarly. We write the draft, you tweak it. And that, your clients and prospects are just seeing that you're communicating more frequently.
And as far as the emails go, and you said compliance, you reminded me, one of the best things is it goes through compliance on the site. So is my CMO, like, does everybody have something like that, or is that?
No, well, Advisor Group, Osaic has branded FMG to be my CMO. And everybody else they've got, some firms have branded it, but basically it's FMG.
So again,
but they have the compliance workflows.
When you put it up and it's there and they post it, it goes through compliance and goes out as fast as I've ever seen compliance work. There's never a holdup. It's just so, even when you tweak it, it's so easy.
And I found some examples I can share of customization of content and what we're talking about here. So here's a post that we wrote on the Secure Act. Here's one we wrote on, as I just mentioned, the aging and memory loss. And here's one on Medicare. So these are just examples of what DIFM customers have done with it. So for the Secure Act, that was talked about, we wrote about the fact that that employers can now match for student loans. So this is one advisor just changed the photo out and put a picture of his daughter's graduation and got tons of engagement. This is one that was on that article that we just mentioned. Beth talked about how she found a different picture. This person found this picture and it had great engagement. And then just, somebody put in a my to-do list. Another example is Women's History Month. You can see different ways people have just changed the photo or used the photo as is. Another one.
We use Women's History Month to give the history of me.
Oh, I love it. I love it. And then we also do these, optional posts. Like one that was really popular is we wrote a post on pickleball. So one of the advisors, customized the picture and put a picture of herself with I think this is her husband, and actually had the idea to do a pickleball event based on this post. So that just kind of took it one more step. And then this was Dog Appreciation Day. Dogs always perform well on social. So generally, we wrote the post, people tweak it slightly, and then added pictures of their dogs. So just, some examples of how that works. Let's go to, let's see, realistically, how much is a little bit of time? So what would you say you and your the freelancer who's editing the content, how much is a little bit of time to tweak?
So when you have the phone call, the first phone call, when you first look at that calendar, I would say I spend about an hour and a half, just making sure I like what's on the calendar and take off what I don't like. Then they have the phone call. I'm not on the phone calls anymore, but they have the phone call. That's about a half an hour. And then my marketing person will now take, and she works 15 days and 15 days. So she'll now take and do all the tweaking to the first half of the month. And then I'll go up on, and I use my CMO, FMG, whatever you call it. I'll go up and look at what she's done. So maybe it'll take me an hour more. And then the second half of the month, another hour more. It probably takes, she probably spends about 10 to 12 hours a month, but she's also doing some additional stuff, because what she's doing is, like today, she came in to take a picture of me lying on a file because she looked in one day in month is called National Nap Day.
Yeah.
So she's going to put a picture of me falling asleep on a file. So she does other stuff in that time, is what I'm trying to say. For me, if I spend 4 hours a month, that's a lot.
That's amazing. Okay. I'm reading some of have you done an event? Have you leveraged the marketing specialist to help you execute an event?
So the answer for that is no, because we've already had all of our events planned out. We have been looking at all of the options and choices you have for events.
Yes.
And right now, I think that 2 of your choices are on schedule to be considered for our next event. So the probability will be that we will work with you on our next event.
Awesome. Because we're getting really good feedback about that. Why don't you describe what you do in your monthly meeting with your marketing specialist?
What do I do in my monthly meeting?
Yeah, so you have this dedicated marketing specialist. How do you use them? What's their value?
Okay, so twofold, and I don't do it anymore. I told you I now leave it to my staff. I have 2 people who stay on the call with them. But what they do first, and as I said, I look at the calendar first. So I've already said I like everything or I don't, or I've already told them that. So I've spent about an hour, looked at the calendar, told my marketing person what I liked or didn't like. Then when they go on the call, they relay my opinions, but the marketing person then says things like, oh, well, if you like that, maybe we can add this, or did you look at, and they work with basically the conversation of, oh, also we have this, maybe you want to use this, and we put up a different blog because I liked a letter and I told her I liked this letter, and she says, oh, I also have this in a blog, and so she brought in the blog. So what's happening
you of other content that we might have written
because of what we say to them,
Yeah.
they then pull other things out.
Cool. I did get somebody was asking, this is sort of a little off topic, but I have I'm going to try to squeeze it in. And they asked, how do you use Canva on the platform? So I'm going to show you really quickly. So this is the
Don't ask me though.
Yeah, because you got the do it for me. The do it for me person could do this for you. But you see, design an image, it just pulls up Canva within our platform. And if I do, let's say it's dog appreciation. So I click dog, I like this one. I double click and say, happy dog appreciation day. Oopsie, spelling. And then I hit publish over here. It prepares it, creates it in our platform, and then you can just write your caption. So happy dog appreciation. And you can see I type over here, and then I'm seeing what it will look like on the platform. I could schedule it, or I could send it right out and it routes through compliance. I could also browse our social post library, or I could use an article from Curator, which is basically, if I wanted to send out an article from Forbes or something like that, I could pull from there. So sorry, just shared because that was one of our questions.
And inside of the Canva, I know that what my staff is doing is they're using it for the picture, but they're using your wording. So they're not putting their own wording in.
It's the wording that's like takes so much work. I mean, trust me, I spend so much time. Oh, I was gonna say, so how do we come up with this calendar, as somebody asked? Well, here's a big stack of content ideas. The first one, this one, actually, it was an email from Beth, and advisors are encouraged. Every month I send out a video that goes over our strategy for that particular month. So you get the content calendar 2 weeks before the next month. So, you know, for April, I think the calendar just went, oh no, for March, the calendar went out mid-February. And we always encourage advisors to send us their suggestions. So I get suggestions, and I'd say I welcome more, to the point that I wouldn't be able to address it, but I think I've written everything you've asked for. So I'm almost, you know, we're almost like an order taker for content. It might not fit into the calendar for the next month, but we add it to the next month. And how would you describe the content? Is it geared towards high net worth? If you had to describe the content, what would you say?
So basically what I'm going to say is there is some things that have high net worth and there's some things that don't. And so being in New York, and my New York people think they're very sophisticated, I have to be careful of what I'm picking. So I just say no to things.
Yes.
Exactly. So it depends on where you are and who you deal with, and you know what you're looking for. So I will and then again with my marketing person, the monthly one, if I said no to 3 of the articles and now there's nothing left, she's going to find me more stuff.
Yes,
based on what I might want or need for that month.
And I will say, for the Do It For Me program, the goal is writing for a high net worth customer. I want to avoid writing about anything that your existing clients or prospects already know. I don't want I knew this. I want oh, that's really interesting, which is why we focus on, you know, for example, the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act and the changes that are likely as it relates to estate tax exemption and gifting. We aim to go for things that make you look smart and are never going to be something that they either already knew or you've already talked about. So things that are either changing, evolving, regulatory, planning topics, biggest mistakes you can make in in an estate plan, things like that.
But it's also the fact that you have so much ability to pick and choose. So it's like I just said to you, I probably have a higher net worth clientele, but I also don't have very many business owners. Most of my people are corporate employees, corporate executives. So there's a lot of stuff that's there for businesses. I just don't use it.
Exactly. Yep. And that's where we do niche content. Like we've got a, small business owner drip campaign, or a prospect drip campaign, or a new client onboarding drip campaign that we remind you every month to try to add your new clients. So super flexible. In the last 2 minutes, I've been trying to keep up with all the questions. And if I've missed you, please just reply to the email when we send out the replay, and I will get back to each and every one of you. But Beth, if you were to wrap it up and just tell the audience, if you are an advisor who, then this program is great for you.
Well, if you're an advisor like me, who doesn't like to write, then this program is for you. If you're an advisor who can't stand compliance, then this program is for you, because it just makes it, all the stuff is in front of me and I pick what I like. Tweaking is easy.
Yeah.
Writing and ideas, the ideas are there too. So it's getting the idea, it's getting the substance and being able to use it.
Thank you so much. Well, I want to be cognizant of keeping my promise to keep this to a half an hour. Thank you so much, Beth, for taking time out of your busy day. And thank you all for joining us and taking time out of your day. And we'll be in touch, and have a great rest of your week. Thank you.
Thank you.